So over here we see Lex Veldhuis having 27 bigs, Pwndidi, BBD, Goach 39. They are both going to be in the kind of middle. APonakov has a lot of chips. So does the Yuri. The nerd guy is Yuri from Brazil. So we're going to dive into the strategies and see how people are playing here, paying very close attention to how Lex is going to be doing. And so the first place is $47,000 plus bounties. We can see the Galliboker TV. That's where this video is coming from. Has put in the bounty as well. So first place will be winning about $130,000 US. So far everything kind of normal. Backs opening up with pocket queens. Selva is going to go ahead and flat, which makes a lot of sense. You could make argument that you want to kind of play a 3-bet range here, to be fair. But ace queen suited typically does qualify as you get to flat. Like if you think about flatting range, if there is a 1, ace queen suited will be in there, as would be ace jack suited and king queen suited. That's typically the EP way to play. Back should be pretty careful on all the flops because Selva's range should be kind of strong, but so is under the guns range. Going ahead and barreling, that's very interesting. Selva will have to fold here most likely. Like, not much he can do with ace queen, right? Just ace queen. Let me get closer a little bit. So NERDguy is going to open up ace queen O. I don't think there is much to talk about that. Starwinds folds. Lex Veldhuis folds. Pwndidi has a decision here, but not really. It's a big stack. You should have quite a bit of flats there with close to 40 big blinds. But just muck that one. APonakov does cover the NERDguy. It's probably still not going to get in there, but if you really want to fire up a 3-bet, you can do it. So deeper stacks and KOs, you will see a flatting range most likely. Even though APonakov did size up, I don't mind a 4-bet either here to go not all in 4-bet, to be fair, because APonakov did size it to on a larger side with the 3-bet. In terms of bounties, it does look like Yuri has average bounty or like somewhere there. Like, it does look to be around 4,000 average, 4 to 5. APonakov, I don't think you want to start 5-betting with Jack 10-0, as if Yuri had Jacks or 10s, he's most likely to call, maybe jam, unlikely, but like, so you don't really have good blockers for 5-bet, so click it and muck it. King 5 suited under the gun with 60 big blinds on 900 table. Is it 9? Yeah, it's 900. It's probably a fold. A little bit too loose to open, I would say. Even though he is a big stack, so. But still, I would say it's a little bit too wide. Interesting spot with ace deuce. I guess he's going for a limp jam here. Definitely, you can definitely ISO in Amino's place. Not always, but you're fine to mix it. He can check, he can bet on the flop. I don't think it matters too much what you do. You should cover 9x and 8x quite well. Like, you should connect quite well with this board. I think you get to always bet, as I don't think you want to have a range bets in that spot. Everybody's going to fold. Selva can fold, really. You have suited ace, you need to play. Like, if you start folding this, it's just like way too... it would be way too tight. The NERDguy has a decision here. I do believe he it should be okay to actually jam this at 25 big blinds with like pretty decent bounty on Selva's head. Calling can also be an option. Like calling will be plus EV, but I do like the jam. I don't think Selva gets to call here. There's still ISM. So whenever you're in PKO final tables, or like in general, if you get to money, or like in general, if people do cover you and you're on the shorter stack side, for the most part, you are the guy who are looking for the ladders. So the risk premium is kind of high in Selva's shoes. Even though the theNERDguy might be jamming a wide range of hands, you still can't really go ahead and start stacking off like crazy wide or anything like that. Polakov is going to go for a min here. Selva just needs to fold. Everybody's going to fold besides Lex. From Lex's point of view, calling and 3-betting to non-all-in would make sense. I think this is too tight. Ponako is going to open a wide range of hands, so your A7-0 is going to do kind of fine against his opening range, so it's probably a little bit too tight from the Lex point of view to fold A7-0. If Ponako opened very tight range, though, you might be seeing folds coming in, though. But because he's a big stack, he's still going to open probably around 20, maybe even 25%. So over here, the theNERDguy goes ahead and open. Very interesting 3-bet non-all-in. You are supposed to be using 3-bet non-all-ins in these spots. So Suited King X is fine, as long as you don't overdo it, because your value will be kind of capped. You would want to jam a lot of like ace queens and stuff like that. So the frequency of 3-bets you get to do is kind of lowish. It's just because like you don't really have value, that much value. So, but if you mix a Suited King X, that's fine. Ace 9-0, that seems a little bit overkill to put it in there, I would say. Unless Yuri thinks he Starwins is going to be bluffing way too much. I don't really like that play, to be fair. But again, in high stakes, there is often some type of a meta. Players have reads, and like basically, you often see people play certain way against each other, and you learn about their frequencies and stuff, and you do get to exploit and be like, maybe that's better, and so on, so on. I'm in the last opening here with Ace 7-0. A little bit on the looser side, but probably fine. I would like it more if the big blind was a short stack, though. Kind of feels like, it's probably fine-ish, kind of bottom. So, do Broadway, like very connected with do Broadway, typically will connect with Amino as the range over here quite well. So, probably on a higher frequency c-bet. You don't really want to like play a big pot against another big stack, but obviously you still get to c-bet sometimes. It's just I don't think you will see much of a range betting, to be fair. So I'm is going to open this one, seeing how he's been playing. The theNERDguy is very likely to call here, I would say. It's just a big stack versus big stack thing, and there is a very big bounty on Amin last head. So another thing is, if you have a very big bounty, there is incentive to go ahead and play a little bit looser in general, because winning the whole tournament is a little bit better. If you compare it to, let's say, Amin last had like no bounties like whatsoever, it would be different. He would want to go and play a little bit more towards the ladders. BBC Brieflop Shards and Trainer, the most effective way to train and improve your poker skills. Get yours now. APonakov is going for a squeeze with Ace 5-0. probably fine over here. You need to have a squeezing this type of bets. So if Amin Lost opens like 25-ish, which seems to be around there, maybe a little bit less, the NERDguy is still going to call somewhat wide range of hands. He would also 3-bet quite a bit. So Ponakov is going to want to squeeze because he's expecting a lot of folds, and blocking ace-x is kind of good. You could make argument that if the NERDguy is using more like queens in flatting range, which could happen here, you would see more like suited queen x come in, like queen 5 suited, for example, as a squeeze. But ace 5-0 is probably fine as long as you don't really go ahead and like always squeeze with ace 5-0. I think it's fine. The big problem with always doing it would be like you just don't have value to get it in, right? So Ponakov goes ahead and bets. Seems very good hand to double barrel here, to be fair. Very, very interesting line. I guess you can give some up sometimes because you're gonna have like Jack 10, Queen 10, like Broadways that have gut shot now to also barrel. I'm not a big fan of the betting size. I think you should bet a little bit bigger. The idea would be, think about all the value. Let's say he has queens, jacks, tens. Would he really want to bet that size? What was it, like 40%-ish? A little bit less, maybe? Like, typically what happens, you don't want to bet such a small size if you repping very polarized range, right? So the NERDguy is going to open ace queen O here. Star wins folds, Lex, pretty simple fold, still in the middle, on the lower end in the back. Like typically with Lex's stack, you just kind of wait and really like trying to nitpick your spots. Ponakov can 3-bet, I guess. He is 3-betting. That's quite interesting. And you would think you mostly want to choose a blocker hands in general to 3-bet. It's not the end of the world. Calling could also be an option. But if he thinks the NERDguy is opening too wide and like not defending properly against 3-bets, which is very hard to see in general. We've seen that line before, right? 4-bet ace queen O. I mean, last opens king 8 suited. I think that's probably okay-ish here. It's a little better than the previous king x. So, totally fine. APonakov can 3-bet here. I'm not that big a fan of that, but you probably get to use that. But he already been 3-betting a little bit, so you definitely want to make sure you don't get out of line with this stuff. Ace king O. Very simple. Let's put it in. I think he can call the smallest bounty in the on the table. That's really and the bottom of his range. So whenever you have bottom of the range, unless you get the crazy bot odds that you need to call, you just always get to fold your bottom. I think this will be just folds. Big blind takes it. Maybe, yeah, kind of feels that's what we're gonna see. Yeah. I mean, last with a walk. So we haven't seen much Lex and Pwndidi play. Backs really haven't been involved yet either. But kind of normal. Like, you're just waiting, you're in the middle. So you're letting the kind of big stacks do the work and play because they are supposed to be playing the widest range. King Jack O with 30 big blinds. Probably okay to call. I would definitely like to mix in some 3-bets though. unless he wants to go and play a flat only strategy there, which probably is not going to be the most correct way. The NERDguy, in general, you're not supposed to be going 3-way that often. So, but with Jack 9 suited, seems very kind of standard. Could arguably maybe even squeeze, to be fair. Especially if you expect backs to flat jacks and 9s, and those flats would be calls against the NERDguy's squeezes, because those are pretty much the hands backs would call, like ace queen, jacks, 10s, maybe 9s if he's building a flatting range. So you kind of want to choose the blockers you blocking with the most, and suited hands don't mind really squeezing these spots. So over here, 10-6 suited defend. He is the shorter stack, probably fine. Probably needs to give this one up though. Would be the end of the world to like try to raise or do something crazy because Ponakov's range is so wide, but like just give up. Wow, Ponakov really pushing it here, huh? Interesting to see if Lex is going to fall. The NERDguy could fire a 3-bet there. But like you can arguably say you don't want to really play 3-bets. Lex 2 needs to defend here. We can see Ponakov playing very wide range of hands. So very nice 3-bet from the Lex. I think it makes a lot of sense. You could definitely choose your offsuit a6 to 3-bet. Calling wouldn't be bad either. I think it matters too much. This is interesting. It should be folded to button. Does button jam? Probably slightly too loose. He's like on a short stack, but I would probably just skip it and try to find a better spot here. Lex is probably going to rejam. Try to get that bounty. Yeah, probably should be rejamming, especially when sure, Lex does not see and Pwndidi does not see, but like Starwinds is very wide here. Pwndidi can't really go very hard. Like you would need to have like a really good read that the button is jamming very wide and Lex is calling very wide to start calling with ace 4-0. Wow, Lex just flopping him dead basically, huh? The run good. So Lex scoring a nice bounty over there. So back's going to open. Selva is probably just jam. Could arguably 3-bet non-all-in and go 3-bet non-all-in, but you would have to call Bax's jams. I think the jamming will be against 2.5x. You just want to rip. That seems very tight to fold pocket tens. That just doesn't seem right. You're one of the short stack. You're pocket tens. Like, if you're folding pocket tens, so if you think about range, let's say ace queen and pocket tens, that's like 5% of hands. Do you really think your 3-bet jams will be capped to less than 5%? That's basically what he's saying, and seems very difficult to be true. Even though Bax is probably opening a tight range, I still don't think it's going to be that tight, so should get it in there. Ponakov very nice hand, then 8 suited. With a big stack, somebody opens, even though their opening range is tight, you still want to play kind of wide range of hands because, well, you get to put the pressure. The backs is not looking to get any, like, heat or both flop. I'm not a big fan of the size on the flop. Ace, queen, queen. I kind of think he should be betting just small. Interesting flop. Ponakov is most likely just to bet here. I would probably just bet small. Wow, interesting check. You can make argument that he wants to have a checking range if he opens really wide range of hands and he just thinks he doesn't have value bets. Max goes ahead and leads out that pot here. That's interesting. Doesn't really feel something you want to do with King Jack, to be fair. You do have showdown value. What are you trying to get value from? Because if Ponakov had ace, he probably bet the flop, right? So Ponakov's range is probably around Jack X and Queen X, so try to check it down makes a lot more sense. I'm not a big fan of that play. The theNERDguy opens, probably backs will call here. What is Ponakov thinking? Man, oh man. So typically, because you are a short stack, so to speak, 30 big blinds, your calling range will be, if you have one, in general, will be kind of ace heavy and stuff like that. So the theNERDguy very smartly just checks back. He's on the flop. Could arguably range bet, but it's like back's range should be like broadways and ace-x and pairs, right? So you don't really accomplish too much there. You can arguably go for deuce streets here, I think, with as an theNERDguy. With ICM might not be much of a thing. Double check, that's nice. theNERDguy needs to value bet now. Probably 5 big blinds. 4 5. Try to get calls from those small pairs. Maybe a 9. Yeah, it's fine. Could even go bigger if you think backs will bet ace-x very often himself. You probably want and 10x. You probably want to go slightly even a bigger size over here and get those calls from the small bears. The small bear probably still needs to mix a call there every once in a while, especially if you have pocket fives. Because like, what is the most likely hand for the theNERDguy to value bet? It would be ace 5, right? Or like small ace-x that he double checked. So it's actually kind of decent value bet blocker with pocket fives. So, but it's still a bluff catcher, so it's 0 EV. So Ponakov, I'm just gonna see bet here. So typically, whenever you open very wide in final tables, as Ponakov is doing, you probably don't want to range bet as often because your range equity versus your opponent's range equity is really bad because you open wide and the big blind defends tighter. So the range betting, especially in like a non-PKO final tables, will be even less of a thing. But over here, you could make argument you just want to put pressure. So the theNERDguy needs to put the pressure. If you're in last, you want to limp your range. You could arguably find like 5 to 8% RFI non raising range there. But for the most part, you want to check your limp your range because you don't want to like build a bot out of position. So goes check. I don't mind either way if you want to go to check raise. I think betting is very straightforward here. Option here to try and start getting some value from ace size, some 2x, some 7x, maybe even 10x weaker Jack X if the theNERDguy chooses to check those. There's no way Yuri gets to fall to that bet size. Really, I'm not that big of a fan of the bet size. If you have such a strong hand, you probably just want to size it up. It is fine to bet small, and in ICM, you don't want to really play for stacks unless you really have the nuts, as he does over here. So betting small and keeping the pot small is typically the way to go with you being like, in what position is like third in chips playing against second in chips, so not the worst line he took. I kind of like it. I do kind of feel like you probably want to size up, like your very top hands really want to size up more often than not. So I would like to size it up, but EVs will probably run very close if you chose if you looked it up. Ace King, you probably just want to min raise here. I don't mind the jam. It's just kind of like you probably want to still have a min raising range. Like typically, it's the thing you're got off, so there is a jamming range coming in for sure. So not the end of the world. I would personally probably just min raise. PKO opening. I mean, let's good find a 3-bet here. I do think calling makes the most sense. Now it's up to a nerd guy. Wouldn't be the end of the world to squeeze. It is loser on the loser side though. 884. I don't think neither player really connects that well with 884. PKO should probably range check against peak stacks here, or like close to range check still. And the idea is his opening range is so wide, and I mean, last calling ranges are somewhat strong. It's not like he's going to be very out of line. So in this type of spots where you open very wide range and you playing somewhat tight range, the ranger's range equity is kind of small in general. So choosing to range check on the flop as like killing also a lot of like the game tree by doing so does make a lot of sense and go from there. But having a small frequency betting also fine if you choose that. This bet size is probably not much of a thing to size up out of position. In position, once you see bet, in position player is like, if he has a flush draw, is going to call them all, right? You could arguably say like, hey, he's not going to have too many flush draws, but what is he calling pre-flop? He's going to call suited hands, right? So sizing up over there in final table seems like kind of a overkill to me, because in position player has all the flushes in his range, so you don't really have like not advantage there or high equity advantage. You could arguably do it if you just build the range around like not flushes, some boats, and like then you can have bluffs as well. But like again, it must be on a smaller frequency end of the play. So ace-jack suited, pretty decent open. Pocket sixes, so I like to call pre-flop. Under the gun player needs to open very tight range. Pocket sixes are not going to do that great if they jam. And his bounty is very small compared to everybody else's. So I kind of like the option to go for a call. So if he had a big bounty, could be a different story in general. But like over here, really like the line. That's really bad river guard for Ponakov because in position player opens basically ace-x. It does have ace-x in his range as well. It's just like probably on the lower end to bet. Could arguably bluff here maybe. It's going to Ponakov is still going to have some flushes and two pairs and ace-x. Ace-jack seems a little bit tightish to check back. Ponakov's still going to have a lot of worse ace-x in his range that will defend that flop. So Ponakov probably just going to go for 3x, 2.5, 2.7. I think jamming would be too much. You kind of want to build a stealing range here as well. So you need value bets. So you're going to take your 8s, 9s, 10s, possibly 7s. 6s probably want to jam. But you need to have really those goals if you face a jam. This is interesting. Ponakov so wide here. Maybe you get the 3-bet call it off. I'm not 100% sure about this. You could definitely call. I don't think jamming will be much of a play. So Ponakov probably needs to defend here. It's a very small 3-bet. He has a bounty. Ponakov could jam. I think I would like to see a call here for the most part, though, because it's such a small 3-bet size. So whenever the sizing goes down, the frequency you need to really defend on the bottom will go up. So that is just overfolding. Very hard to see in equilibrium that you get to fold the ace-7 suited there. And the whole idea is let's say you open 80% of hands, and he chooses to 3-exit. You need to defend about 50% of that, maybe 40. And it's in that case, that means let's say you need to defend, like if you open 80, let's say you need to defend about 30% of your hands. There's no chance suited ace-6 are not going to be in that percentage, right? So that's too tight. Or if Ponakov has a read that Pax does not 3-bet bluff enough on the big blind, in that case, sure, you can definitely make argument of folding, but it's like exploitative stuff. So limp pot over here. So I'm gonna go for a stab, check. I don't think it matters too much. I don't think in Amino's point of view it matters either. Again, this type of like check lines in general, you just sometimes need to do bluff these, sometimes give up. The problem often is you just don't have value to bluff every single time. Even though you have 9 high or 7 high, if you always start bluffing this, it's like you really need to have a lot of value bets to go as well, because you're going to have offsuit hands. You're going to have very wide range of hands to choose your bluffs from. So I don't think it matters. It kind of feels like, oh, it doesn't really matter and stuff. Like maybe it likes this combo more than that combo. Wow, look at Lex situation. Pocket kings, Pwndidi, king jack suited, Ponakov 8s, theNERDguy 8s. Wow. BBC Brieflop Shards and Trainer, the most effective way to train and improve your poker skills. Get yours now. Pwndidi should probably 3-bet here. Do not all in. Could possibly flat if he wants to play a flatting range. Probably you don't. This seems a little bit too fucking tight. This looks a little bit too tight. And the whole idea is you should be having a 3-bet range there. You probably just want to play 3-bets. And if you probably want to choose king jack suited as a 3-bet, it is possible it mixes though. And chooses different type of combos to 3-bet. But to me, it's just like, should probably just 3-bet there. So Lex going 3 ways here. You probably want to go a check raise here with pocket kings. Just try to get it in against any queen X basically. Ponakov kind of in a weird spot. In which player in multi-way spots get to actually bet pretty often. Should connect also quite decently with the queen X. So if the theNERDguy is going to call, Lex just wants to go probably not all in. But knowing or having seen how Lex often plays, you could see Lex just stacking off here. So 15, it would be like overbet jam. Yeah, like kind of feels a little bit too much, but I don't really mind it, because if you have flush draw, kind of makes also sense. Let's say you opened ace 5 of diamonds, you kind of want to jam that. If you have ace queen, still like, yeah, like I think it doesn't really matter too much which way you go about it. I kind of like, I do think you want to raise here and just get it in. It will be dicey if they both get it in or something crazy happens, but yeah. Might look a little bit weaker if you jam, but like, I don't think it matters too much. So Ponakov opens. Selva folded tens before. He's supposed to be getting it in here again. Now he does that. And Ponakov should be folding here. The idea is like Selva is going on, like your bot outs with the bounties and everything is great. But if you think about the Selva's going all in range, it's probably like, we saw tens, obviously Ponakov did not, so that he folded tens before. It's probably like ace queen, ace jack suited, king queen suited, pocket eights, nines plus. So if you have ace 5 suited, you're not going to do well against that range. Even if your like odds you need are good, You're still probably not going to get it, so good fault by him. Over here, pocket queens, you can play non-all. You can go all in. I don't mind mixing in non-all in 3-bet either there. I think it matters. So this one will be folded by everybody. I think there is much to do here. Kind of same idea. Sure, he has Ponako has check 8 suited. Still like very hard to get the odds because the jamming range is just very strong. So this probably goes to blind versus blind, I imagine. And Pwndidi probably just limping, Ponakov checking, and will take a flop. So whenever Ponakov has those suited hands on a big blind, you typically don't want to isolate your suited hands, especially on this stack depth. If you play very deep, let's say it's like both have 70 big blind, sure, those will start coming in because you're playing such a deep stack. But like 20 to 30, it's not that much of a thing. So it seems very standard expected line to happen. Pwndidi probably should have very high frequency check on this board. Still gets to bet probably a little bit, so up to him. Need to be careful with the betting though. If you don't really have that much value once you bet these type of spots. Ponakov, I think it matters either here. He's probably gonna lean more towards a bet, I imagine. And the ideas will be basically very similar on the turn because checking ranges should be kind of balanced for both players. And like, I would imagine for Ponakov it will be more of a bet now though. Just because if Pwndidi had a jack, right? Or like, in general, a pair, it's very likely to bet it on the flop or on check line on the turn, right? He will have some, so to speak, trapped and slow played, but for the most part, Pwndidi's range can have a lot of ace-high, king-high diamonds, and you kind of want, so to speak, protection from protection and value with your 7 there. So I kind of like to bet on the turn. Queen Jack open under the gun 8-handed. This is probably too loose for dirty big blind stack, to be fair. Basically saying you're opening 20 under the gun. It's probably not supposed to be at 20. It should be like 15 to 18. So Ponakov calls very large sizes buybacks. Not a big fan of that. Should be sizing small, checking back a bunch here. Yeah, it's very weird for Ponakov as well. Against very small bet size, Ponakov would defend. Against that bet size, yeah, probably just let it go. So Lex with trash. Pwndidi is going to open this one up, I imagine. Ponakov probably is going for a flat, if that happens. I think you still want to flat if you Ponakov though. Could arguably 3-bet. Back should probably just rip it in there with King Jack. The idea is Pwndidi still should open some, like, it's not that tight and Ponakov calls wide range, so King Jack suited makes a lot of sense to just jam because Ponakov won't have that calls calls against you. And Pwndidi can still have like quite a bit of folds himself. He's opening cutoff, right? So I'm more in a gambless jam. If I'm a backs guy, Ponakov can definitely bet here. Again, these hands are often mixed on the flop because you can't range bet, right? You don't have value bets, so you can't range bet. So you sometimes bet, sometimes check. That's how some lines in poker are being actually played. Backs goes ahead and calls. Guess it's fine-ish. We'll be a little careful with final table though. It definitely has pairs. I'm more of thinking like maybe you want to raise. Maybe not raising king jack of clubs, want rather spades or diamonds. So you have back to flush draw, back to straight draw, and you are not blocking, and you would also block jack 9, king 9 for Bonakov. Wow, what a run out. Wow, this bet size actually doesn't make that much sense. Basically, back saying he hit 2 bear, he slow played a set, or he hit backdoor flush. Because if he had, like, let's say he had king 9, does he really want to choose this size with a flush being out there? Then again, he'd been using a lot of like larger sizes. But you do want to get bait sometimes. Ponakov just folds again. Very interesting. He folds quite a high up, I would say, in these spots. It might be that Ponakov don't think backs will bluff those lines, what we've seen. So Ponakov opening ace 9-0. Queen 10 suited. I hate these 20 big blind situations because you might have a calling range because Ponakov having a very wide opening range. Jamming could also be an option here though. Probably not. But you like whenever you have small bounty, it's less incentive for Ponakov to start calling against you. So could still be a play. I can see it being check, check, check on the turn here as well. Luck 3 does hit queens very well, right? If you think about what is Luck 3 flatting range on the button, well, if he's flatting something, it's probably like maybe Queen Jack suited, Queen 10 suited, maybe King Queen. So especially for offsuit. In that case, he probably wants to start betting quite a bit there, if that's going to be true. He's going to value bet here. Probably 5 big blinds if I had to guess. So in position play, whenever you are in position, for the most part, you want to bet at least more than half pot. So in this case, would like this is too small. This is exactly like what I'm saying. This is way too small. You don't want to open the action like 99% of the times. You don't want to open action for less than half pot. So if you bet like 3.75, sure, it's half pot. But like just betting very small in position just doesn't make sense. Don't do that. Don't do that. So Ponakov going ahead and open. Ace 9-0 there, probably just fold. Unless you think Ponakov is like crazy wide. He's just wide, but we haven't really seen he's like getting super out of line, to be fair. I guess you get to like you again. This is a spot for out of position where he needs to be also very careful. He's going to have a lot of 7x, a lot of 5x, a lot of deuce x, like not that many deuce x, I guess. And he doesn't really have that many value bets. Like, what value do you really have? Like, sure, you have top pair, but other than that, you don't really have too much. Bonakov's sizing choice small there. I would like more on a bigger side there. Trying to rep that king x. Wow, Bonakov, you see Bonakov folding ace-x there, right? It's not that out of line, so backs goes ahead and open, seems very standard. I think blind should fold here. That's nice. backs will open here. I mean, the last, just a call. Makes sense. It's always kind of annoying if you're very close and you don't cover, though. So imagine, I mean, last will call, and Lex will have a decision here. The 7-8 isn't terrible. I don't mind either way. Does look like Lex is playing a little bit on a like safer side, so to speak. That's crazy flop for last. If I was last, I would like to start building a bot here. You will try to get to stack King X. So he should probably just keep going with betting. Sizing choice is going to be interesting here. Yeah, he's going half bot-ish. Wow. Do you jam this? The problem, yeah, I guess you have to. Like in ICM, it's not like that much jamming, especially when backs can have nuts, which he does, like pocket jacks and pocket king jack would also play this way. So maybe jamming isn't the greatest. Just pot it. Just call it off if backs jams. Just think you want to go large here. I'm just not 100% sure you want to like almost 2x jam it. Yeah, he goes pot. I like this. If you're a backs guy, you need to call. You can't raise there. There is there ain't really hands you're going to beat if you call. Like, you do have a nut flush, but it's kind of a bluff catcher. You do beat some worse flushes, but there are only very few in Amino's range at this point. So, and he's not going to size it up like that with King X. And let's say he even does. Is he going to call all in? Very unlikely, right? So I kind of like it. So Lex over here gets to play. Should probably 3-bet. In like chip PV, it's probably, if I remember correctly, it's going to be a little bit calling here as well, but it's not chip PV, so I do like the 3-bet. I would probably personally go a little bit bigger, but doesn't really matter. So Yuri probably just wants to play as a call here. So ace, queen, deuce. If you choose a lot of ace-x as your 3-bet bluffs, you're going to connect on ace high boards very well. So you probably just want to start betting to small size. Even the in-position player will have ace-x. Yuri will also jam a lot of ace-x pre-flop, including like some ace-5 suited, probably at least mixing it to 4-bet jams here, because he does cover. So, and like, yes, you're playing final table. But if you, let's say Yuri has ace-10 here, and you have ace-8, you're probably still going to have to go broke, I would say. The pot to stack ratio is just so small. So it doesn't really matter. This small bet doesn't really make sense to me either. Like, what are you doing here? Like, you kind of want to size bigger to get value from worse ace-x, queen-x, flush draws, right? So Lex putting himself in a weird spot here, I feel. Like, he's probably betting small again. Wouldn't be the end of the world. If he checks, Yuri probably going to rip it in his face. So if you're Yuri here, 10-9 is basically the worst hand you can have. You do, like, what else can you really have here? Maybe some king high float you did because the leg size is so small. I'm not a big fan of, from the leg side here. So Yuri is going to jam this, I believe. At least I think he should. He's just going to have flushes that he wants to jam. Yeah, he'll just like put it in. And this is like the worst hand you can have. So Lex is in a very tough situation here. So typically, I would imagine people are under bluffing this because, like, other than this 10-9 of spades, he doesn't really have other bluffs, just missed flush draws, right? You could arguably say he might have like king 4 of clubs that he chooses to bluff here. But problem with Lex is this is his best hand here. What else can Lex have here? If he had a flush, he'd jam. If he had a 5, he'd probably jam, right? So Lex doesn't really have better than this. And if he thinks Yuri is finding the bluffs, he has to call here. Like, it's probably mixed, but he has to start calling this because that's the best hand. If you don't call this ever, what's going to happen is you're going to fold 100% of the time, right? Because this is the best hand. You could argue that it's not the best combo, but that's how it works. You sometimes need to call there. Yuri is a guy who are very likely to do fine bluffs. He's a very good player. So to me, this makes a lot of sense that Alex went with a call. It's just he put himself into a very tough scenario where he could probably just bet the flop, jam the river turn with ace-8, kind of. But well played. Well found the call. I like it. I do think, like, if you played like slow stakes, mid stakes, in those spots, I would just fold. And I would fold my range. And the idea would be a lot of, like, most people just don't find the bluffs there. But in higher stakes, if you encounter guys like theNERDguy, APonakov, like Pwndidi, like very good high stakes recs, they will find these bluffs. And in this case, you need to keep your ranges in GTO and play like GTO, right? I'm not a big fan of Lex raising that one. You either call or fold. I think you just want to fold though. It's just a little bit too wide. Maybe you get to call and like the raise as much. Then again, maybe the way Lex might be thinking is maybe you actually want that. You just raise because you're gonna have like aces, kings, queens, and like all the good stuff, and you just raise the bottom and give up the bottom. So you're just like 3-bet bluffing. But the sizing would, yeah, I guess that's fine. I hate those spots. It's not simple to know what to do. So Silva opening king check O here, which is fine. From Ponakov's point of view, you probably want to VPip. So this is like, if Ponakov had 20 big blinds, you probably want to let it go. But you have 70 big blinds. Seems very difficult to let go of bear with the bounty on Selva's head, big as it is. I guess it's getting on a smaller side though, compared to the table. So in Selva's shoes, he's in position. It's very likely it's just going to bet, try to get it in. And it's probably going to get in against the lock tree, actually. Yeah, it's 10 big blinds behind. You have flush draw. He has big, like, decent bounty. You're jamming it, right? You're just jamming it. Selva's going to call. And we are going to see the turn and the river. Why is he taking so long? Bro, you're not folding. Bro, you cannot fold this. But it might be just a replay issue, right? Might be just a replay issue. So, GG to Selva. So, we have 6 players remaining. I mean, last coming in with your normal low check 4 suited open. That's too wide. Lex should let this one go as well. Even though he has a big stack, it's still kind of like you can't go too crazy. Wow. What a setup. What a dream Amin last leaves, huh? You're on a big blind, you have pocket aces. And small blind with a KO goes all in with pocket threes. Very simple game, huh? Okay, what's happening here? What's the stacks? Amin lost 81, Ponakov 70, Lock 3 37, Lex 53, Pwndidi 13. So Pwndidi just been like, haven't had any hands really, haven't really done much. But now he's like the shortest stack. It's becoming very simple to play in this these scenarios, I would say. If he had like if there was short stacks, you might even not want to defend here. But because he's the shortest stack, you just want to. You don't really care that much about it at this point. I mean, lost 4-3-0. Yeah, no, it's just too wide. This is another spot. If you open 4-3-0, you can't possibly range bet this. You can't. You just don't have enough value or like strong hands. Or like it's very difficult to see. And Pwndidi is still like rather on the tighter side. You could make argument that Pwndidi is going to jam a lot of hands pre-flop and will be left with a kind of weak range for King, Queen, X boards. Could arguably do that. And in that case, sure, like Pwndidi's range won't be that strong. He wants to value bet here. I think you probably don't want to jam though. And the idea is you still want to, like, Impossible player can still have all the Queen X, right? So, then again, like, interesting spot. Maybe jamming is good. I do like the size he chose. I think I would play the same. Could even maybe be a little bit smaller, even though that might lose some value. So pocket sevens open, hijack, APonakov going to defend. I think you want to mix King 6 suited into 3 bets here. I guess he thinks differently. It is deeper stack though. But still, I think it's mostly still offsuit hands. Even though deeper stacks, you do see some suited hands do come in. I just think King 6 probably a little bit too high up there. So with pocket sevens, you probably just want to call here. The sizing is more on a smaller side. Pocket sevens are going to do fine. He's probably thinking if he should rip, I guess. That is an option. I like to call here. It's always so weird if people if this situation comes up and people start to time bank. Because it's a pre-flop, like what are you time banking? Often I'm thinking like, if somebody's time banking like this, it often feels to me it's like rather weakness than like, if you have aces, people just like, it's like you can get some timing tells. It's not much, but like I would discount aces probably. Seeing how, like, that's one problem with Last. He opens super wide, but keep in mind, we're looking at replay. Nobody has seen that, right? That is kind of like the problem if you play. For us, it's like, yeah, he's too loose. Why don't you just take advantage and start rebetting him super loose? But they don't know. Like, if you play, you don't know, right? So, APonakov going ahead and raising. This tip you probably find to defend wide range. It's just like, yeah, doesn't really matter too much. Again, you don't want to see bet your range in this. Maybe if you choose like bet 1, but like, nah. So check, check, check. APonakov can bet here a little bit. I don't mind that. But you can check it down, win some percentage of the time, right? It's not the end of the world. Mixing in some bets with ace-x and the king does also make sense. Wow, he just hit it. Last has the worst hand, but he doesn't really have that much value either here. You could bet very small. So this sizing is kind of repping 10, I would say. Maybe some 2-pair. Why don't, I don't like the call. That seems like... Yeah, I think you just want to raise and make him call with all the 10x. He could have flushes. If you think he has a lot of flushes on that line, you should be calling. But I just think it feels way more like a 10 than a flush to me. Because a flush could also overbet or go even, or just bot it, or yeah, like basically bet even bigger, right? Or he could bet very small, trying to induce a due bet from APonakov. So that seems kind of a little bit on the tight side with not straight there. Queen 6 fold Lex, bro. I'm not sure about that. Again, like you covering that player, you can probably defend. I kind of like the 3-bet there. I don't think the fold is the end of the world though. Ooh, fours, jack nine suited. Lex has eights. Pwndidi has jacks. Wow.
Take your game to the next level with GTO Wizard. Practice against GTO on all your devices. Study any situation using our revolutionary AI-powered solver. Upload your hand histories to uncover your biggest leaks. We have hundreds of hours of coaching from top pros, cutting-edge theory articles, and custom study plans to help guide your poker journey. GTO Wizard, the #1 app for poker players.
I don't mind the call here. I think that makes a lot of sense. You're playing very deep. You don't have any blockers. So Pwndidi is going all in, and I imagine Lex is the one who's going to do the call here. And very hard to see last going for that. What a setup, huh? And Lex can't really get away here either. Unless he thinks Pwndidi is not jamming very wide, but he really should be jamming quite a lot here. And he has a pretty decent bounty. Ace-high board, not good for Lex. The Pwndidi doubles. That's a little more than double, right? Double plus 2 call, open and call. Lex should call here. I don't mind the 3-bet. So whenever you have offsuit hands on the button, or like in general, if you have offsuit hand, button, small blind, big blind, those are often the hands you want to mix into a 3-bet. So this should go fold. Also, it's going to be very effective whenever you 3-bet last, seeing how wide last opens. Obviously, again, they don't know. They cannot see the blade hands as we are watching the replay, right? So Pwndidi probably want to open this one. Looks like a good hand. And should go fold. So there is no like very shallow stack, right? Everybody is 34 big blinds plus. So whenever that happens, you're kind of playing pretty decently wide ranges, I would say. Like, it's not as tight, especially with PKOs. So APonakov over here goes ahead and RFIs. Then I know, very normal. Unless he's going to find a call here. Don't mind bet, don't mind check. Again, I think you get to range bet this. But you should be probably betting sometimes. Like 9-7, I think you want to start betting here. You have flush draw, you have a middling pair. You're gonna win this quite often when it goes and it's kind of decent one to start calling if APonakov bets. Again, what is up with these small bet sizes? I'm not that big of a fan. Maybe it's like a thing PKOs and I did not know. But I'm not a big fan. It just doesn't make that much sense. Sure, it does come in at the frequency. So maybe they're just choosing that frequency play. But it kind of feels to me it's like, probably not. It does make sense if you have let's say you have queen 8. It does make sense to bet small. The flush came in there, right? So it does make sense. And APonakov goes for a bluff, obviously with a 9. You're just going to call it off. So Pwndidi gonna open this one up. I imagine will be kind of tight to now play this one. So Luck 3 chose to fold there. With these stacks, kind of whatever. I kind of like the fold. Last probably coming in with a 3-bet over here. So whenever you have offsuit hands in general, being out of position, like small blind, even big blind, you do like the 3-bet, especially on small blind, offsuit Broadway, often a 3-bet. Can we see a 5-bet? No. So I'm going to imagine it's going to just fold. I mean, last is going to fold. Lex, probably just a fold. Pwndidi, likely to be just calling here. I think you want to jam. Or 3-bet. Like, 3-betting out of B-blind, you typically just want to have a blocker hands, like Ace-X, offsuit Ace-X, offsuit King-X. In general, there are some like other offsuit and sometimes even suited hands coming in, but like that's not that big part of the strategy in general. That's not where the high frequency will come in. Seeing a small bet. But did he can go either way here? He's probably he did fold. I think he can go play as a call as well, probably. He's not connecting that much with the board. The question is kind of like, if you have ace-jack, ace-10, which hands would be better to call? Is it ace-jack? You're blocking ace-queen, queen-jack, pocket jacks? Or would it be like small bears like pocket threes? Going to be a blind versus blind scenario, I imagine, unless somebody's going to be very out of line. I know, Lex, maybe 7 2s on the button. But whenever you play small blind and big blind covers you by this much, you typically are not going to see a raising range. And if you do, it's very small, like 5% frequency or so. So easier to just limp your range in these type of spots. 870 is going to be on a lower end isolation. So whenever you have offsuit connectors, those typically just want to check back, but you do have to find a couple of raises here and there. Pwndidi will probably, I'm going to imagine it just folds, but you can make a point for limp raise here as bluff. You do have a pretty good blocker with the king. And he goes and just calls. Seems a little bit loose in final table. But it was a 3x, 3 big blinds, so not the end of the world. So Pwndidi flops middle pair, and APonakov has 2 overs and a cut shot against that. Probably we will see a c-bet over here. He's sizing up. The idea is, if he had a jack X or better, you would kind of want to size up here. I don't mind the small size, but like it does make a lot of sense to choose a bigger size here. Pwndidi is not going to go anywhere here. Some middle bears do check raise with the king. You probably don't want to do it as much. So once APonakov hits open ender, it's likely to go a check here. It's just kind of like, if I had to guess, it's going to bet a little bit. But for the most part, like, if you bet and Pwndidi jams, it's kind of awkward and you just need to fold. So opting to a check does make sense. Ace is kind of... APonakov doesn't have that many ace-6, considering the flop bet size. Jack-X would barrel often. So Pwndidi is probably thinking if he could go for a value bet here. But APonakov still has 9x, so it's pretty good combo to bluff. I guess you would like to have a heart more. Pwndidi to just block a7 of hearts, ace8 of hearts in general. If he bluffs high, I think Pwndidi is going to bluff catch this one. And he just gives up. Lex is sitting out. Rich man, huh? You don't want to sit out in general in final tables? but I'm sure maybe his internet went down or whatever. These things do happen. So Pwndidi goes ahead and opens ace-5-0 on the button. Small blind is going to call. So small blind calling range is kind of dead-ish over here. Like, it does have some stronger hands, but like in the big blind's shoes, Pwndidi opening wide, APonakov calling wide. I like to go a squeeze here. Calling is okay. But like squeezing often these broadways, you just block a lot of good stuff here. Ace king, king queen, jacks, kings. I don't think king queen would like too much. So none all in definitely would be an option for luck tree. So Pwndidi can bet on the flop, but I like to check back. They both will have a lot of ace-6 still in the range. You don't want to see bet all your ace-6 on the flop. So he's now going to fire up probably a bet size that is more on a larger side, like 5 big blinds. Could go bigger though. And they both need to fold here. I think you get to continue with a gut shot there with king high. PKO is going to open this one up. Luck tree has a choice here. He can either go all in or non all in. Calling could also be an option. But again, like whenever you have like offsuit Broadway, you mostly like to 3-bet these spots, so I think all the options are on the table here, though. Yeah, he just puts it in the middle. Ooh, this looks juicy with Lex on the big blind with ace king. I mean, that's good. I'm not a big fan of having all-in strategy here, and the idea is there is no like very short stack like them big blind stacks and stuff. So Lex is going to ISO here, and I mean, Las could potentially jam 35 effective. I don't mind the call here. It is kind of deep. The problem with the jam often in these type of spots are like when you get called, you fucked. That's literally what it is. And Lex does take the flip, and he's a chip leader now, so probably going to start putting some pressure on now. Even though there is like no like super short stack to like really pressure somebody, so to speak. Everybody kind of like equalish. Lex does have duo X the bottom stack. 10-6-0, probably a little bit too loose to open here. With this is a little bit different in sense of like you're very close with APonakov here in sense of having a raising range. So you could arguably start expanding the frequency more. But like if you want to just go for a limp raise, limp call seems a little bit too, probably slightly too weak. You do hate the life if you raise and it jams though, but you have to just get it in. He could go for a call though. But I do think you kind of want to raise this one. APonakov is going to still have a wide range of weak hands here. Because it's deeper now, he's going to have a lot of suited hands though. Like, if you have 10-9 suited, 6-5 suited, stuff like that, with this depth, it's fine to start raising. Because it's high stakes, wouldn't shock me to see some type of clicking happening. It does happen in high stakes quite often. You do see people do that. So Lex is definitely going to open this one up. Pwndidi second in chips. So in chip EV, you would have to 3-bet this, sometimes call. With ICM, probably it's safe to let it go. Big blind, easy defend. So this looks like like a flop that can get the money in. He definitely want to check raise here sometimes with the flush draw. Oi, oi. So Lex is going to size it up here. And it's like, luck 3 must be jamming here, right? It's definitely not folding. You have open ender, flush draw. It's very good blockers in case Lex really is going to try and do this with ace6, ace7, which is questionable. He's not going to call those probably. So I do like to jam here. I do think calling is okay as well. But if he jams, it's not like Lex is going to love the life. Lex is still like there is no worse hand jamming. Maybe ace jack. Other than that, Lex is like hoping the guy has some type of a draw here, and that's how it goes. Lex takes the bounty. I think pretty standard hand there. Then this looks like an action spot. So Pwndidi is going to open. PKO can 3-bet and call. It's up to... I don't think it matters. You do need to do both here. It is 400. Everybody's have locked up 24,000 plus whatever the bounties they had. So it goes open, call, fold, call. Pwndidi most likely going to check this one. PKO can bet this one. Check. So weird to always say like, you can do checking, you can do betting, it doesn't matter. But like that's how often these spots are. I'm not that big of a fan of the size, even though the sizing probably is fine. But it is kind of a spot. This is like, again, which one is better if you have ace king, ace queen, or you bucket sixes without backdoor flush draw? Like, which one is better defense? Often these spots come down to that. They're often very similar in the EV as well, to be fair. So Pwndidi needs to defend this one. Then 3 suited is too loose to open, I imagine. Based on how PKO has been playing, I would imagine he will check here quite a bit, and he does. But PKO's checking range connects really well with ace-6. If you think, well, like, what are the likely hands PKO is going to check? Well, it's going to be ace highs, right? Some maybe king highs. So once it goes check, check, and ace on the turn, Pwndidi does have ace-x, but PKO is hitting ace very often there, and his range is getting really strong. Like over here, PKO's like bottom of the range are like some pocket pairs. 10x probably. He's definitely going for a value here. Probably he will size it up, trying to get calls from a queen, maybe some 2 pair. I'm going to imagine it's like 5 big blinds bet. Okay, it goes over bet. That's fine as well. Blinds do go up. Everybody's stacks will go down, so to speak, in terms of big blinds. Stacks actually remain the same. Lex could fire a 3-bet here, but I do think you mostly just want to fold. But I don't hate the 3-bet here. I mean, no less. Probably should just fold this one. If you're deeper, it's probably a little bit better to defend, but like 9-8, not that great in final table in that spot. So Lex opens Jack 10-0. I mean, last flops not straight. Lex top 2. Interesting bet size by Lex. I don't mind it. Do you think you probably still want to keep it smallish? I don't mind a little bit to size up. I don't personally use these sizings in general. I would just bet 2/3 or 1/3. Or in some cases, 1 big blind. Once you see a check raise here, are you trying to get it in on the flop? The problem is if you start 3-betting here, and less jams, it's going to look very dicey. You do beat 10-8, but other than that, you're probably going to be Jack 8 doesn't like. But you're in position. You can get it in later streets. That's fine. I don't mind sizing a little bigger here, like half pot or like around there either. I think that makes a lot of sense as well. Lex goes ahead and goes all in. Very bad situation. Damn, Lex sun running these bots, huh? Winning all his all ins, huh? That's how you win tournaments. You need to win your all ins. So Lex now with aces, doing a 3-bet. Ponakov probably just fold. Wow, the team bro winning every all in. That was said in the comments by Pwndidi. You guys might not see it. Pocket queens now, probably fold from Pwndidi. 3-handed you probably find to, with this step, you probably find to defend as a big blind. Like, that is like the biggest thing in final tables in general. Your defense on the big blind will be way tighter. With PKOs, it's not as bad in general. But still, you need to be considerably tighter in those spots. Lex just having good hands now, huh? You wait out, you win your all-ins, and you're in a great spot to chip the whole thing, huh? So this must go limp call. Again, Bonakov probably plays his ranges on limp here, I would imagine. So Lex is going to c-bet this one to small size. Very hard to see Bonakov to do pretty much anything else besides calling here. Unless he thinks Lex c-bets way too much and he just wants to check raise his range or something like that. I don't hate it in general. I'm thinking, if you're in the Lex shoes, you probably want to like even 3-bet, just try to get it in with Ponakov's bounty there. I don't mind the call though. I don't mind the call. Not a great card for Ponakov with ace-6. Lex also does not like this, because if Ponakov was check raising a flush draw, now he did get there. Lex goes for a small bet. Trying to charge those ace-6. I'm just trying to think, what is Lex's bluffs here? Like king queen, like just some like gut shots with a diamond, I imagine. Yeah, it must be. Like, you don't really have anything that much else to bluff there, right? Ponakov's fault, though. Probably fine-ish. The problem is, if you fold that, you're probably just overfolding these spots a little bit. Because you're not going to have that much better than ace-6 there. Played as a check raise and checking the turn. unless he's like very like goes very a lot. Unless he will drop a lot by checking the turn, which on check raise lines does not really happen that often. I guess with ISM, it's more of a thing. But in general, no, you just want to play pretty straightforward, because once you check raise, what's happening is you're making your opponent's range so much tighter that it's not that simple for in-position player to bluff. Even doing that in Lex's shoes, it's I imagine it's not that difficult. So over here we see open, defend, bet, call, check, check. I can see a small bet here. Can see a check call. I don't think it matters too much which line he takes. I do think if he thinks Ponakov is more bluff-happy player, if you check here, you want to do that. If you think Ponakov is not finding enough bluffs on this line, you probably want to bet yourself in general. Just, it's like a little bit exploitative in that sense. Very hard to see Ponakov do anything else besides calling. You're still going to beat worst Jack X. Split there, obviously, as well. Ponakov gonna play probably limp only strategy here. Especially with suited hands, you don't really get to raise too much suited hands at this point. At least not this high up. He proves me wrong. You can do it if you want to. Yeah, I'm not that big of a fan of that one. I imagine he's just going to bet the flop here. And Lex just gonna let it go. Lex can limp. I do think, like in general, you just want to raise quite a bit in these spots because you're a big stack, so you want to still pressure the shorter stacks. So you do build like pretty aggressive raising range in general. I think you want to jam though. Pwndidi should be defending this one. You have backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw. Whenever you're in positions facing small bets, that's the way you want to think, and that's where your defense will come in. Lex is thinking about it. But then he can bluff this. He can check and choose to bluff on the river. Maybe even give it up. Just defend and give up. Should have quite a bit of value bets here still, though. So you choose a small size. More repping a 7, I would say, with that sizing. So, fold. Are we seeing a limp here? I imagine so. Lex should mostly check back. Sometimes ISO. Again, offsuit connectors don't really ISO that much. Ponakov probably just wants to play a call here. Jamming seems a little bit too much. Lex goes with a small bet. Ponakov probably trying to figure out if he can like maybe check raise even again. It's interesting that he just folds. I don't mind it though. So Ponakov coming in with a 2.5x RFI now. Like, what is this? That is due loose, bro. So the idea is you're gonna have all the offsuit the ace-x, right? So choosing suited Jack X to 3-bet. It's like not necessary, I would say, just like to lose. Jack 3-0, it's like Lex just thought like, okay, fuck these guys. I'm just going to start putting like a lot of pressure and start opening. I have not checked the final table three-handed PKO solutions, but in ISM you actually or like non-PKO, you actually like even a big stack does not put as much pressure on. In general, like the strategies, because there are less antis, right? There is less to steal. The strategies are getting a little bit tighter in general, so I'm not a big fan in these. We did those hands. BBC Brieflop Charts and Trainer, the most effective way to train and improve your poker skills. Get yours now. Pwndidi, we can potentially size up this one to 3 big blinds. Bet small. Checking could also be okay, but I lean more towards betting. Goes a little bit bigger. Lex probably will give this should give this one up. In general, you should be defending your gut shots, but like most of your range is a gut shot here, so you probably want to give up the bottom ones, and it's not necessary to defend. Goes for a check raise. I don't think that's much of a play, to be fair. If you want to go check raise, like if you have 9-8, like something along those lines with 1 diamond, I think those hands make a lot more sense. Like if you have ace-6 with ace of diamond or something like that, maybe. But like 6-3, this is like Lex, like, okay, fuck these guys. We're gonna change it up. We're gonna just put the whole pressure on these guys. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the spots Lex chose there, 3-handed. It does have a big stack and all of that, but like it does not allow you to start, so to speak, bunting. It's not like exactly bunting, but it's like way out of line in my opinion. And you don't want to go out of line even with these stacks, I would say. Pwndidi should probably defend this one. He has 10 high with a backdoor flush draw. I wouldn't mind if Lex chose to barrel here. But you got like you shouldn't be really barreling all the time. I don't think the runout is that great for Lex, because once he bets the flop, Pwndidi is just like going to continue all day X, King X. He can still bluff it on the river, or he's very likely that he's supposed to be bluffing sometimes. Yeah, like this is way out of line by Lex. Way out of line. In general, the way you want to think about it, it's very difficult to start opening like 70% plus on the button. In general, it's doable if if you're going to have a jamming range. In PKOs, it's a little bit like easier, but not with these stacks. It's very hard to see that this being a place. Not a big fan of that. So 9 is a card that it is an overguard, but if you're Pwndidi, you're supposed to be betting a lot of your 9x, 10x, 8x on the flop actually. So it's not that bad of a card in a check line. Pwndidi is still going to have some 9x in his range. Lex goes with a small bet. I don't mind it. You can bet like your 7x, 6x like this, stuff like that. over here, I think on the river, you get to choose a lot of bet sizes. And the reason would be if you have 6 or 7, you probably just want to bet 1 or like very small. 9x probably just like 1/3-ish, maybe some better ones 2/3. And same with Jack X. And then you're going to have some like very high equity hands like Jack 9. That's basically the nuts. And you just want to size up. Jack 9, I would imagine, wants to go into bet small, face 2 bet, try to 3 bet type of a line in general. But I don't mind it. Especially if you don't think people are due bet bluffing you. I do think you want to size up. That just makes more sense because the value of your bet, small bet with a really high equity hands comes from your opponent bluffing. If your opponent, you don't think your opponent is like due bet bluffing enough, you should not really choose those because you don't really need to balance your small betting ranges, and you're just going to miss value with high equity hands. So don't do that if you ever have a strong hand and you don't think your opponents are capable of due bet bluffing enough. Smart line by Lex. Check the river, small overbet, because ace-x will play the same. Also, you're blocking ace-deuce, ace-4, some flushes. Pwndidi is in weird spot. He does have some ace-x. I don't think he's going to have a jack-x though, so then-x is pretty much top of his range. So he has a spade. I think he's kind of forced to call here. It's still indifferent, obviously, because he either wins or loses. Doesn't matter if you have 7x or 10x, but you just have to make a lot of calls here. It's just like kind of a blocker thing, but like 10 of spade, I kind of feel like that's pretty mandatory. So Pwndidi with 27 bigs. Open ripping can be played. Limp jam. Probably do you prefer plays in general. You can also raise this. Monaco probably calling. Wouldn't shock me to see a jam every now and then, though. So Pwndidi's probably thinking, should I check? Should I bet small? Can I size up? It goes very small. Pwndidi should have a pretty easy call here. You could possibly 3-bet non all in or jam if you thought APonakov is going to be like way out of line there. But keep in mind, if you play your final labels, APonakov being very active this final label, right? But he always been like a big stack. Now he's a short stack, and he's definitely going to adjust his ranges accordingly. And he knows he can't get you out of line once he's such a short stack compared to others. So even if somebody in your table is getting very out of line with a big stack, does not necessarily mean that they are out of line being a short stack or average stack. Also, the strategy should change three-handed a little bit. So Pwndidi bets big on the turn with a gut shot. Ace-x is... Problem with ace-x is I don't think Pwndidi is going to have that many ace-x in his range. If he had ace-jack, he probably gets it in pre. Ace-9 could probably take this line. Doesn't really make that much sense, but possible. And APonakov is going to have some ace-high calls there because his range is kind of ace-high-ish. And for that reason, it's kind of like fine to give up. But Pwndidi is still going to have straights. He's going to have two pairs, so he should be bluffing sometimes there still. So leg size up here. I don't think that matters too much. I don't mind small bet either. Ponakov can raise here. He can limp. Lex is kind of weird spot. Do you go for a ISO and call it off, or you just check it back? I don't mind either way. I think Lex just wants to check this one back. He's going to have a lot of like 3, 4, 5 type of a card shots, some other hands to bluff there. But once it goes check check, Ponakov shouldn't really have that much ace-x. Also, you can make argument Ponakov might jam some ace-x pre or just a raise. He definitely will raise. So once he bets like this looks like a kind of 7x, 8x type of range. So Lex is definitely considering raise here. I do love the raise. And Ponakov is in a tough spot now, right? Well, if he's value betting 7x, 8x, this is pretty much kind of high in his range. The question is, is Lex going to bluff in this spot? Very nice play by Lex. I like it. Ponakov is indifferent there with 7x, so he's most likely sometimes supposed to be calling. Pwndidi is going to defend this. I don't think King 5 likes to jam, but often in solver, if you look at King 6, King 7 suited, I believe, you do see those are like solver, like, so to speak, favorite hands. Like, let's just rip it in at times. So I don't think there is much leading for Pwndidi here. 9x, 9 high flop should be pretty good for APonakov. It's not like he's not opening offset 9x on the button. Could arguably go for a small bet here as a Pwndidi situation. Or double check. I don't think it matters too much. APonakov should sometimes probably fire a bluff here now. Problem with this type of spots when you check the flop is you really need to make sure you do have the value in these spots, because especially on a smaller stakes, people play very straightforward with their value. If they have 9x plus on the flop, they will just bet it all. And what happens on the turn is they don't really have much value, and it's very easy to start over bluffing those lines. And in general, their range gets very, very gapped. So Pwndidi goes very small here. APonakov is going to bluff him. I have a feeling he's going to bluff him. I kind of like it. He's going to have ace queen, probably king queen, like very large sizing. Is it large? Kind of like little small overbet. Pwndidi actually has pretty good blocker here to king queen. Pocket kings in case APonakov slow played like that. So probably should be sometimes calling there, to be fair. You would love to have ace though. You would love to have ace, a block ace queen. APonakov can ISO this one. Again, another spot does not really matter. You need to check sometimes. You need to go for ISO. Pwndidi, probably checking. I don't mind the bet. But I go more likely to check this one back. Probably a little bit betting still. Because he does have a lot, like quite a bit of 8x in his range. Can we see a bet now? No. APonakov definitely going to start building this pot up. So you have top pair, good quicker. You want to start getting value. Your opponent checked to you twice. Like, what else can you do, right? Goes with big bet size. Pwndidi is going to let this one go. Ace-2 so is interesting fold on the button. It really shows how like Pwndidi is like very like well aware how of his pre-flop ranges. I don't really personally mind opening it, but if you go and check a lot of pre-flop solutions, you would see like it just hates ace, like having deuce in general, so it's fine to let it go, especially against a big stack like Lex have. But I personally would probably still open. I wouldn't really care. But like it's just like these really small details in high stakes players game that they do know and they do. I think it matters too much though. It's like ace 3-0 probably open, ace 2-0 like it can't be much worse, right? So Lex goes for limp call with queen 4. Pwndidi bucket 7s, ISO, it's fine. Probably going to fire a small c-bet here. Lex can definitely have ace-x, so does Pwndidi. Lex is not gonna go anywhere here. Mostly should be calling. So Pwndidi hits a boat. If you're in Pwndidi, you're just hoping Lex has a ace here. But to be fair, I think Pwndidi just wants to keep firing. You want to build this pot. You have the nuts, right? How do you get it all in? Well, you need to fucking bet. Because whenever Lex has ace, or basically a strong hand, it does not matter. In all the lines, you will get all the money, or at least you should. But in case Lex has queen 4, or like some 7x, well, in that case, you do want to build the bot, right? So Pwndidi is just going to rip it in here. Wow, takes the time. Yeah, I'm not really sure what should I do here. This is typical, like, let's leave something behind. Doesn't matter, really. A lot of people make a big deal out of this. I don't think it matters. It does mess up maybe some math or something, but like, I don't think it matters. I don't personally do that too often. If you allow Solver to do it, I actually did test it. The EVs of going all in or doing non all in, basically all in, are going to be the same though. So doesn't really matter. Queen 9-0 you want to open here. I don't think you're supposed to be this tight to like not open Queen 9-0 here. Wow. But did he really died, huh? I am wondering if that's the play. Like, is this like actually plays final table? 3-handed? It could be like now, just looking at the stacks, it could easily be that it's yeah, but it's like man, I don't know. I'm very suspicious. Like in my head, hard to see that being your strategy. Like ace deuce, sure. Queen 9-0? Could be. Could be. What do they have? They have. I'm trying to go find if we have a solution over here. 60, 30, 100 something. Let's see. No, big blind 100. Is there a solution for this? Not really. really paying attention to what's happening. Just trying to look at if there is a solution where we could like check. One big stack. So actually, I'm gonna pause this. So let's check on this one. So it's just because it's so interesting to me. I think you guys can see it. Let me make it like this. So if we look over here, so the stacks are bottom 50, small blind 30, and big blind 70. If you look over here, this is like your opening range. You see this like on the button, you're not really wanting to open the bottom of offsuit ace-6, but like queen 9-0 is like, it's still there. Still there, right? Like offsuit 9x is going to be there in general. So because we saw Pwndidi and he has done a lot of bounty work, it's always good to check on that. If you see a great player like Pwndidi do that, probably too tight. But then again, this is just a one solution. It's something similar. It's possible he have looked up something a little bit different, and that one did not have queen 9-0 and stuff like that. But he's pretty on point. Right? So over here, you can see he's opening king 9-0, right? So once you open king 9-0, well, you know queen 9-0, if he folded, like he was considering it, and it's like, hey, it must be like kind of on the bottom. Pwndidi open, Lex can 3-bet pre-flop with king 8-0. I don't think you get to do that all the time, though. But should probably mix in. It's possible Lex does never mix this one, but mixes all the smaller ones. That's typically how you do it. But even the like king 9, king 8, king 7, king 5. If you look a lot of solutions, it's just offsuit king X. It's hard to pinpoint. That's interesting to limp first in with queen deuce suited over here. Lex goes ahead and overlimps. That's fine. But it is going to ISO? Nah. Basically, you don't want to ISO 9-3. You kind of want to have like a blocker hand to Ponakov's, basically. So I think offsuit like king deuce, king 5-0, those hands would make a lot more sense to go with ISO in Pwndidi's shoes. Still want to have a blocker hands, right? Doesn't matter too much, to be fair. I think he should always bet, though. The idea is like both blinds can have flushes, so not that simple. But then again, you have deuce, pair of deuces, so it's kind of like ace high here, right? If you're getting called, well, you do get called by a flush draws, so if you, I don't think it matters too much. Ponakovov can actually barrel here if he wants to. I do think checking is probably like a standard play, so to speak. But whenever you have like two pair and stuff like that, they do barrel and even sets. If you go and look a lot of solves, you will see that happening. I'm not sure if you do it actually on a queen here with a queen deuce. Kind of feels on the smaller side, this bet. It is half pot, but kind of feels on the smaller side. Like, even if you have like 8 of hearts here, kind of feels like you want to size bigger than this. It is fine though. I just kind of feel like that. So Lex definitely opening this one. What is 3x? What is this? So this is not like, it's probably okay if you like, not a big fan of the 3x. Not a big fan of 3x. King 7 suited and 3x, hard to see being a thing. So the idea is, if you 3x, you want to probably build a limping range. If you don't build a limping range and you 3x, that means you get to weave people less hands. And if the stacks are, you have 100 and 10 bigs, and Pwndidi has 50 and APonakov 15, you want to weave people a lot of hands. So it does not make too much sense, unless Lex really goes for a 3x limp strat, which, based on what we've seen so far, I don't see that that's what's happening here. So not a big fan of that. Just min raise. Or like 2.2x. Why don't you size 3? So if you size 3, it makes it like easier to rip the river, so to speak. Would make a little bit more sense. I don't mind the size though. Lex cannot call here. Seems very difficult to start calling with 6-4-0. Then again, who knows? Maybe Lex feels it. Pwndidi probably has to call though. Seems difficult to fold ace-x. You're still going to beat or be ahead against a hand like queen 9, right? Yeah, you see, Lex is min raising. Then again, like the stacks did change a little bit, but like, and we haven't seen Lex to limp at all. I don't think you want to have a limping range if you Lex. You just want to min raise everything, because min raise gives you the widest range you can play by putting, so to speak, still pressure on small blind and the big blind. Just gonna check. Lex could bet. But Lex will also have a checking range here. It's very likely. Pwndidi is going to have still like ace queen, probably ace jack sometimes, hands like that. So strong ace-x. APonakov can also have ace-x still in this spot. So even if Lex has an ace, he probably wants to check, meaning he's going to have a checking range. He does have a 7x, so a pair of 7s. I don't think it matters if you bet or check here. Probably it's very likely to be a mix on the flop. Once you get a call by Pwndidi over here, though, you probably not going to win anymore if it go check down. It's just not gonna happen. So you can potentially triple it off, blocking pocket 7s. A7 and A6 as well. I don't think Lex can kind of ever win here. The idea is if even Pwndidi had Jack 10, Queen 10, Queen Jack type of a hand, he's very likely to bluff that hand because it was 3 ways and that's basically the bottom. So if Pwndidi bets this small, I don't really see Lex ever winning. Like he does have a bear. There is illusion you're gonna win. I just don't see it. I guess Pwndidi could be betting like that with like Jack 10, and you do win against that. But like, yeah, hard to see. In solver, we probably have to still call though. I don't really mind bluffing there either. You do like it sucks to bluff because you don't have a hard blocker there. Jack 5 suited. Probably not much of a thing. I don't hate it though. You do mostly use offsuit hands though. It's very specific spots where the suited ones will come in. And if they come in, it's kind of bottomish, Jack 5, kind of whatever. That's going to c-bet here, I imagine. I think so. Typically, 20 big blinds effective whenever you flop a top pair. You just check raise, get it in. It's going to be fine. With weak top bears, it's not that much of a thing. So it's fine to put it in the calling ranges as well. And in final tables, it's more of a calls than check raises in general. So I would have loved to see a barrel from Lex here, actually. So this is like ace deuce, ace 4, king 5. All of this like cut shot type of hands, and in general, like one like small card and a big card, those are barreling quite often, these spots. So Lex just gonna rip it in his face. It's very interesting that Lex don't really rep much here. If you're Bonakov, I would like he snap falls. I'm not that big of a fan. And the idea is, if Lex is supposed to be barreling a lot of 4x and 5x on the turn, it doesn't really have a straight, which he's pretty much saying he has. Either a straight or like some 2 pairs, right? Like easy jamming 2 pairs, probably. But Bonakov might just be like, hey, Lex is never bluffing here, so I just auto-fold, so... BBC Brieflop Shards and Trainer, the most effective way to train and improve your poker skills. Get yours now. Lex does raise here. I do like it. You want to put a lot of pressure on Pwndidi with your stack over here. So raising is a good play. Pwndidi can check here. He can bet. So Pwndidi is playing against Lex stack. So if you look at the stacks and Bonakov being a very short stack, you don't mind to click a check here, and because your hand is not trying to really get it in, right? And you can now play 2 streets very aggressively once it Lex double checks to you. So just bet probably. Like 6, Lex calls. You bet 6 and like 12, 15. And you're not really all in. Could arguably triple it off, but like not that big fan of that. And you want to triple it off. Lex is going to have Queen X, 8X, possibly even some 10X. Still, you do lose sometimes, but like, this is like, in ICM, it is sometimes like, often you do see the top pair being like 1 street hand. Blind versus blind, wide range scenario. I'm not that big of a fan there. I'm not that big of a fan. Like, fire half pot, right? That makes a lot more sense to me. Lex goes all in here. I don't think that's much of a play. But does he hit it? No. So the idea is you still want to play a lot of hands. You get to still min raise there. Like I would personally just min raise. I don't think I would have a jamming range. You could make argument that some hands really would like to do so, but like, nah. I'm not a big fan of having a jamming range there. I don't think it's the end of the world. Bonakov can limp raise this one as a bluff. Go like 9 bigs, 10. It is on a smaller side. Lex just gonna get this one in. There you go. Nice raise. Again, you want to just pressure. It's fine to limp, but like for the most part, I think most of your range want to still be play as a RFI, but there will be some limping ranges coming in these pots as well. Pwndidi can raise. These offsuit hands do raise often. Limping, obviously, an option as well. I think jamming is an option here. Randomize 97, says APonakov. APonakov probably just gonna rip it in here, because Pwndidi is still going to have wide range of hands. Go for that full equity. There are some cases where you're supposed to be playing mostly calls here, and those are when Pwndidi's range is very tight in terms of value. So whenever you jam, even you have a full equity, because whenever you get called, you have so little equity against the calling range. You do see a lot of calls, but I think that's going to be one of those spots. So jamming makes a lot of sense. Lex gets to ISO quite heavily here. Checking also fine. Knowing Lex, he's probably just like, hey, time to pressure. I'm not a big fan of that. Even though I think this is actually going to be a play with like, you do see like lower frequency and these hands do mix in. I think it's more like Jack 10-0, 10-9-0, 8-7-0 type of range, but like you do see it actually in some solutions. Again, 7-3, raise, limp, mostly probably raise. Pwndidi can definitely try to get it in here. He's a similar stack with APonakov, but like you have ace queen suited. Lex plays heavy RFI strategy, especially he has raised you so many times. It's also likely whenever somebody raises you a lot, they are actually very imbalanced with their limp range, and it's actually very weak. So you get to get it in even wider than you would normally think. So Lex is going to get coolered here. Opening tens. Pwndidi just... I don't think you want to rip this one in. Definitely can do, but I think you mostly want to just go... Actually, because Lex goes 2.3x, I think ripping could be like... You can go 9 big blinds or 7.5. It's fine as well. Lex just going to put it in here. Nothing else you can really do. Calling just feels a little bit too weak. You have tens. There is bounty in play. And Pwndidi holds and doubles. What a three-handed match has it been, huh? These guys are hard to kill. Despite the last three, I guess. Limp, raise. Which one it's going to be? Limp. Lex chose to check back. Lex flop stop pair, APonakov middle pair. No flush draw for either players. Lex bets one, APonakov going to just call here, I imagine. Lex definitely wants to barrel this one. So if APonakov has like a flush and stuff, he probably plays a lot of check raises here. It is blind versus blind limp pot ranges, so the ranges are wide. Lex sizes up, so Lex is basically saying, I have a 9x or better here. So drips are better, mostly drips and flushes. But APonakov still has a 7. Lex can still bluff a lot. I do think it makes it a little bit more tricky for Lex to bluff now, because a lot of straights cut there. And it's also very tricky to get bait here, I would say. I'm not it goes for the bounty. I don't think APonakov is going to hero this one. Nice line by Lex. So For deuce, Lex is probably supposed to let it go. Even though you are the bigger stack, you're still going to have to fold the bottom. So that's a nice fold. Pwndidi probably just gonna limp here. APonakov can do either ISO again. Same spot, right? Doesn't really matter. So blinders blind you. That's how often you should be playing. You should do raising, and you should be doing checking back a lot. Just the way the ranges play. So if somebody's thinking like, hey, why are they taking this much time to play a simple check or a bet at times? It's because they want to balance out their timing tells. So typically, if you play a big final table and you're not that busy, which you should never be, like you should always just pay attention to your final tables, and you're just going to need to wait your time, take your 8 seconds, because if you always snap play and then you start thinking, it gets into like a weird area where people can pick up a timing tells on you. King Jack O probably just gonna put it in the middle. Could arguably, like if you're going to have a non-all-in size, King Jack O could wouldn't really hate to go as a 3-bet non-all-in bluff there. Calling is fine, I guess. I would like to see a bet from Pwndidi. It's still going to check sometimes, I imagine. But like, looks like a very nice flop to bet. Nobody really have much here. It's very difficult to know what's APonakov's range here is. I kind of feel like this 15 big blinds. Often your range is just your bottom hands, so to speak. But Pwndidi can definitely start betting here. Just you can still have a lot of ace-x. Or you can choose to bet on the river. Yeah, I don't know what APonakov's exact calling range is. Like, how often does he have an ace here? If he had like ace-8 suited, wouldn't he jam? If he had ace-9 suited, wouldn't he just go all in pre-flop, right? So how many ace-6 he really has? This bet size kind of tells me like, hey, I have a queen. I guess could be some type of a weaker ace-x as well. Yeah, very weird spots, these like short stack limps, not limps, calls from the small blind. So once Pwndidi is got 60 big blind and Lex is 100 big blinds, you do play more likely to play a more limping strategy as Lex as well here. You do put some heat on Pwndidi, but way less than when Pwndidi had like 30 bigs. So Lex turns third pair. That's fine. Lex going to steal this one. Ace-2 so probably rips. That's interesting. You probably just want to rip it. Hey, A6, so yeah, with bounty, I imagine what else can you really do? Yeah, like you must get the odds, right? You need probably around 40%, maybe a little bit more. And heads up, it is Lex Veldhuis versus Pwndidi. Lex saying, good luck, my friend. May the worst player win. Pwndidi goes, nice one. GG boss, good luck. Joke's on you, I am the worst heads up player in existence. Okay, let's check this heads up match out. So we're starting with a limp. So typically you want to play more racing range at 50, I believe. Or like there's a lot of RFI rather than limping. So Pwndidi is must check raise here. So again, you're so deep, you just want to build the bot. You have you flop the drips. Pocket fives against 4-3. Pwndidi probably just RFIs or limps. Lex will defend this one, I imagine. Interesting spot. I don't mind either way, bet or check here. Kind of feels like let's check it down, see who has the best hand type of scenario. Because they both can have king here. I don't think Pwndidi will have that much 8x here. Yeah, it's just going to check down now. Pocket threes. Kind of flop nothing for Pwndidi. Lex goes ahead and bets 2/3. Do their dish. Very calm heads up so far. Not much action. Pwndidi goes ahead and raises. I should definitely fire a 3-bet here. What will Pwndidi do though? He's probably going to defend this one though. So Lex can probably continue here. Not easy for Pwndidi to defend here without a heart. But he does. Interesting, what will Lex do here? Will he like be like, hey, let's get it in? Because if the money goes in, you don't feel very good with your ace-5 here. Chooses to bet small. Interesting hand. But did he double calls? Lex just rip here? Check call? Bluff? What is happening? What the heck is happening? Pwndidi must bluff here. Like, you don't have anything else. Wow, he checks. Why did like I don't understand that. I don't understand that. I understand the idea is like, hey, I can still win against missed flushes, but you have to bluff that. Like, you don't have anything else, right? I'm not a big fan letting that one go. I don't think I would call the turn either. So, not a big fan of that hand. And if you call the turn, I do think you just need to fucking bluff that one. So, one and done. Jam, maybe? I don't mind a call either. It is 30 big blinds, so whenever you have ace 9 and 30 big blinds heads up, you probably, if you're choosing to limp, you're probably limping to get to rip it in his face if he ISOs. Very interesting. Like, it's very like small ball, small ball, small ball, and then we had that big hand, huh? Lex definitely looking to barrel here with a gut shot. So the blinds went up, 27 big blinds against 120. Lex flops bottom pair, Pwndidi top pair. Feels a little action. Wouldn't hate the raise here probably from Lex either. So you do raise whenever you have like a cut shot, pair and cut shot type of equity. This duo mix in. Calling obviously fine as well. Pwndidi probably just going to call here, I imagine. And Pwndidi turns stop 2. Interesting from Lex. Just, I don't mind if Pwndidi just ripped it in here, to be fair. I do think it makes a lot of sense. Oh, wow. Lex the lockbox. Hits it on the river. Obviously, it goes all in. In Pwndidi's shoes, it seems very difficult to not call with top 2. Lex can definitely jam worse, like 7-4, 7. Like, yeah, like he must have worse, right? GG Lex Veldhuis taking it home for 130,000 US, huh? So if you guys like this, go check out one of my videos next, and I'll see you guys around. Take care.